I don't think it would go down too well if America came in or Israel came in and decided for the Iranians who should govern them. So, look, we're 10 years into Donald Trump being president or not president, and he makes these kind of statements and perhaps doesn't think about what the follow-up of that could mean. But it won't play well in Iran for those people that think this is our moment. We really do want to see the end of this regime, but it needs to look legitimate.
Now, as we've just seen on the front page of The Times, Donald Trump says he intends to play a role in choosing Iran's next leader. This follows the US president lashing out at Keir Starmer over the UK refusing to join initial strikes on Iran. The Prime Minister continues to face questions over our preparedness. And John Healey turned up in Cyprus today. Let's speak to Michael Stevens, a Senior Associate Fellow in International Security at RUSI. Hi there, Michael.
Hi, how are you doing?
Yeah, good, thank you. Trying my best, really, to wade through so many news lines, as you can probably hear. Let's deal with this sort of fresh one, really, which is that Donald Trump is saying that he should be helping to choose Iran's next leader. Does that change the already complicated and muddled picture about what America's war aims are?
It certainly does change this very muddled picture. And there's been a lot of inconsistency from the American side, whether that's inconsistencies to do with their timelines versus Israeli timelines, whether this is full regime change, whether it's partial regime change, whether Donald Trump wants to talk to the regime or he doesn't want to talk to the regime, or whether he wants to talk to the regime in 3 weeks' time. It's very unclear what the war aims are. And I know we're almost a week into this conflict now, but actually, I don't know what success looks like for Donald Trump. The fact that he's now said that he wants to pick a leader in Iran, I think most of the world will sit there and say that the Iranians should pick a leader for Iran, and that's for them to decide. And actually, even the Israeli prime minister has said the Iranian people should decide who should lead them. So it's very Trump, isn't it?
Sure. I mean, this is the thing, isn't it? And this is why it's hard to pin stuff down, is because he chucks these lines out. I mean, as Kate was saying, standing in front of a football team this evening, a soccer team in the White House, supposed to be there with Inter Miami. And he's talking about not just Iran, but he also mentioned Cuba as well. I mean, it's a passing comment you could almost miss, but he basically said Cuba's next.
Yeah, I don't know if Lionel Messi was very impressed with his views on Iran and Cuba, but maybe we'll find out. Look, here's the thing. There is clearly a plan in place to degrade the regime, to give the Iranian people some sort of stake in their future. But anybody that's looked at this question for many years, and I've been working on Iran for 20 of them, will know that Iranians don't really like foreign interference. They have had a history of foreign countries interfering in their politics. Think back to the 1950s, where the UK and the US overthrew, President Mossadegh and put the Shah back in. These sorts of historical injuries, if you like, play very hard on their soul and on their political culture. And I don't think it would go down too well if America came in or Israel came in and decided for the Iranians who should govern them. So, look, we're 10 years into Donald Trump being president or not president, and he makes these kind of statements and perhaps doesn't think about what the follow-up of that could mean. But it won't play well in Iran for those people that think this is our moment. We really do want to see the end of this regime, but it needs to look legitimate.
What about the issue of the UK response then, and the accusation that Trump made, but also, other people, including sometimes friendly voices, have made, which is that we were underprepared for the strikes on Iran. We weren't lined up properly.
So my biggest criticism is really the messaging around this. And I do think that it looked a bit like we performed a U-turn within 24 hours. And that is not a very confidence-inducing position to take, especially when your allies are getting bombed and when you have 250,000 British citizens under fire. I worked in the British government and we war gamed these scenarios out so many times. This is not, it's not like there aren't plans in the shelf. There are plenty of them.
No, that is someone's job.
Yeah. And it was part of my job when I worked on the Gulf strategy and all sorts of different things. We spent years working on this. And for the messaging to be as kind of confusing as it was in the opening hours, days, was very disappointing. But I would say this, it's not our war. But we have very legitimate interests to defend, and that includes our base in Cyprus and includes our citizens in the UAE and Qatar, who are facing pretty regular rocket and missile attacks at the moment. So, that line from Starmer today was better. I think that the commitments that he's making are the right commitments in the terms of he's moving aircraft into theatre fast, he's moving 2 Wildcat helicopters in for anti-drone warfare. And yes, there's going to be a boat which arrives in 2 weeks' time, but unfortunately, that is to do with operations around Ukraine and Russia. It's not easy when you've got another war going on to suddenly move everything else into a different theatre.
Okay, Michael, stay there, because whilst we've been talking over in Washington, the US Secretary of War, as he calls himself now, Pete Hegseth, has been speaking as well. Excuse me, he's in Florida, not Washington, of course, Mar-a-Lago. Let's have a listen to what he's been saying.
And right here today alongside one of America's finest, Admiral Brad Cooper, commander of U.S. Central Command. We just had a chance to spend a couple of hours together, better part of 2 hours, going through the entirety of this operation, Operation Epic Fury. And Admiral, I want to thank you for everything you do and your incredible leadership, for your dynamic thinking, the way you're attacking this problem set on every level. In just days of Operation Epic Fury, you and your team have delivered nothing short of devastating, precise strikes, taking out the better part of Iran's Navy, making it combat ineffective, neutralizing missile sites and launchers, and establishing total dominance over the skies we fly over and seas we fly over. Our forces are executing with unmatched skill, and the mission is advancing decisively. This is the kind of no-nonsense, results-driven warfighting that America demands. And you're delivering it in spades. You are the man for this moment. Admiral Cooper, on behalf of the President, the Department of War, and every American watching, I want to thank you for your outstanding job you and CENTCOM are doing. Keep pressing the fight, and we are with you all the way. A few thoughts before I hand it over to the Admiral for an update. Iran is hoping that we cannot sustain this, which is a really bad miscalculation for the IRGC and Iran. You see, there's no shortage of American will here. We remember and honor our fallen, those 6 that we will soon welcome at Dover, who gave everything for their country in this mission. We remember them. But we remember them by rededicating ourselves even more fervently to this mission. Our commitment to our mission objectives only increases as our advantages continue to increase. We've got no shortage of munitions. Our stockpiles of defensive and offensive weapons allow us to sustain this campaign as long as we need to. Again, our munition status...
Okay, Pete Hegseth there, the US Secretary of War, speaking live in Florida. We can keep our munitions as long as we need to, Michael Stevens. Do you think, I mean, that's not giving a length of time, is it? Perhaps he wouldn't, of course, strategically, but as long as we need to is not the same as saying for years and years, is it?
No, and look, I mean, they've started at a pretty high tempo in terms of offensive strikes, and as high as it was during Iraqi freedom. Actually, it's about 400 or 500 a day, which is pretty intensive. At some point, you do start running out of targets, but the Iranians have shown quite a degree of resilience. I mean, they're still being able to fire back. They have moved their teams towards sort of autonomous and disaggregated structures where it's very difficult to find out where they are, how they're communicating. So, Pete Hegseth, of course, is going to be confident. He's going to sit there and say that everything's going on track. And yes, the first few days have been quite impressive, but everybody in the analytical community I'm speaking to thinks we're in for a few weeks now. Not necessarily the long haul, but certainly the medium haul. So if he feels he's got the munitions for that, great. But I have some concerns, particularly over missile interceptors.
All right. Great to speak to you. Michael Stevens there, Senior Associate Fellow in International Security at RUSI. Thanks for joining us.